Hey, First Things First listeners, before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now let's start the show. First things first, are the Rams having relationship problems ahead of their big matchup with the Packers this weekend? Is a Deshaun Watson for Tua trade really on the board? And does Carson Wentz actually have a future in Philly with no Doug Pederson? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wildes. Nick, are they sticking with Wentz after all?
You know what? I don't know anything anymore because I woke up this morning and Brandon Marshall's wearing a velvet smoking jacket and all my takes have gone out the window. I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Right, we all can't have a stylist like you.
We're going to tell America a few things coming up. We got to start here. The national championship game last night, Alabama, Ohio State, and the best team remains the best team. Nick Saban's Crimson Tide back on top. Mac Jones finished with 5 touchdowns, 3 to the Heisman winner, DeVonta Smith, who was just unguardable, for lack of a better word, until leaving with a hand injury in the second half. So let's start there. Since DeVonta's next stop is the NFL, Brandon, our resident wide receiver, is DeVonta a can't-miss NFL star?
Absolutely, Jenna. If you asked me this 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I would have probably said I need to see more, right? Meaning, when you make that transition from college to the NFL, it's hard. But nowadays, these wide receivers are coming in and impacting the game right away because of flag football, because they have access to Chad Ochocinco's drills that he does in the offseason on YouTube and Instagram, and Odell Beckham Jr. and Stephon Diggs. So absolutely. Who is this guy? This is Torrey Holt. But his savviness, this is Ochocinco and his route running. This is Stephon Diggs and his explosiveness, being able to stop and start, and his agility to shift gears. He's also Devontae Adams from a playmaker standpoint. This dude can do it all. I don't want to put him in a box, but the thing that makes him really special and separates himself from everyone else, Nick, is his humility. This is a superstar. I knew he was special when he called me and he said, Brandon, please connect me with Ocho. I want you two to show me how to be a pro, show me how to be better on the field. I said, kid, I don't know if I can show you how to be better on the field, but I definitely can show you how to take care of your body. I can show you how to play 13, 15 years. This dude is special, Wildes.
All right, so Brandon, my question is, he looks like he's can't-miss prospect, and I hope he succeeds. Why are there so many sneaky great wide receivers who succeed in the NFL? So if he goes super high, here's a list of some guys who went scattered, we'll say. DeVonta was 53 overall. DK was 64 overall.
Yep.
Stephon was 146. Tyreek was 165. Of note, blast from the past, Brandon Marshall was 119 overall. And Hall of Famer Julian Edelman, 232. So I had to put together a pie chart that I wanted you to sort of get your take on. I don't think it's right, but it's just what my gut was. Can we throw up the pie chart? I'm claiming scheme, 45% of it, where you go into the league like, oh, good news, I'm Davante Adams. I'm with Aaron Rodgers, great. I should probably put that under QB. So blue is QB, 15%, and skill, 40%. What's your take on this? Is this close or, also full transparency, I texted this to Brandon, pre-show.
Yeah.
You didn't just automatically make a graphic.
No, but look, you know what? You know what I like about your graph, your pie chart, Wilds, is that you have the quarterback position at 15%. A lot of people would make that probably the biggest part of the pie on this chart.
Yeah.
So you got that right. But you missed a few things. You missed mental fitness. So you got to throw that on there. And you also got to throw the Robin. So when you text me this over, I actually fixed it for you, right? So mental fitness. Why did I and you guys got that you guys got that lime green on it. That's good. That means mental health awareness. Why is mental fitness big? Because every time we talk about the wide receiver, we talk about them being divas. We talk about them being malcontent. We talk about, their reactions to the sideline when things aren't going their way. I was a guy the first part of my career that didn't get this part right. If you are a wide receiver, you got to understand your talent only takes you so far. You're the only position on the field that your success lies in everyone else's hands. So you got to be able to control your emotions. So this is the most important thing. And then you have skill. Skill is important. Obviously, if you can't catch the damn ball, you can't play wide receiver. Then let's go to scheme. If I went to the Wildcat offense, to the Miami Dolphins instead of Mike Shanahan, the West Coast, and being in that type of offense, I probably wouldn't have averaged 100 catches, in my first couple of years. And then the quarterback. Look, a lot of people are like, Brandon, why do you have the quarterback so low? Shouldn't it be 30, 35%? No, I played with 17 quarterbacks. It's about how you work with the quarterback. You don't need the top dog. You don't need a top 5 quarterback to be successful at the wide receiver position. You guys just have to be on the same page. And the last thing, Wilds, is the Robin effect. I call this, you have to have this. My uncle sat me down when I went from running back to wide receiver. He said, Brandon, you're only as good as the guy on the other side. So the Eddie Royals of the world, the Eric Deckers of the world, the Alshon Jeffries of the world. When I'm getting double, correct. That's right. There you go, Nick.
I got it.
So when I'm on the other side and I'm getting doubled, Nick, I need the guy on the other side to get his job done so they can start giving me more room and I can play one-on-one.
Yep.
So I think this is the correct success pie, Wilds.
So listen, I'm not gonna argue with Brandon's pie. I would be one of the people that would say quarterback should be bigger. I think Brandon's perspective is, I think skill and quarterback on that pie need to, for every receiver, take up 40%. And the fact of the matter is, the more skill you have, the smaller percentage the quarterback matters. So for a guy like Brandon's skill set, I understand why it's like, well, I can succeed with 17 different quarterbacks. But with certain guys like, fake Hall of Famer Julian Edelman, he can only succeed with an awesome quarterback. So for Edelman, it's like 2% skill, 38% quarterback. For Brandon, a different way.
Off my
but I've got a different question, because what we've heard with the draft, the reason running backs don't typically go high as of late, is because, you can get a great one in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. And Wilds was kind of alluding to this, but I want to take it a step further, because DeVonta Smith is probably going to be the first wide receiver taken, and he should be. By the way, if people weren't watching last night, that stat line is the first half. He messed up his knuckle in the very beginning of the second half, didn't play. He legitimately could have had a 400-yard, 6-touchdown championship game. But if we look over the last few years, the first few wide receivers taken in the draft are not the guys who would be taken if you had to do it over again. This past year, I'm not saying Ruggs and Judy, 2 Bama guys, by the way, aren't going to be very good, but I think it's fair to say Justin Jefferson, if you had to do it again, would go first, and you could argue Claypool would be the next guy off the board. The previous year, the 2 best receivers, I think, were both the Ole Miss guys, A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf. But who were the first wide receivers taken? It's N'Keal Harry and Hollywood Brown. A couple years prior, you had 3 wide receivers, Brandon, go super high. I'm doing it off the top of my head. But Corey Davis, Mike Williams, and the Ross kid, who has now bounced around the league. There were really good wide receivers in that draft. None of them considered John Ross, who went to Cincinnati, and now he's not with Cincinnati anymore.
He was
I think he was like the 9th pick. So I just, why do you think now we're in a spot where I think we have more excellent receivers in the league right now than ever before, but it's not necessarily the guys who are being taken profiling as an excellent receiver the way DeVonta Smith obviously will profile out as an excellent receiver. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, it's because of what Wilds presented to us, that pie chart. Like, think about it. DK Metcalf, you're right. He probably was the best guy in that draft, but there was a big question mark around him when it came to his route running ability. At the top of the route, instead of coming out of his route in 5 steps, he was coming out 7, 8. But Wilds hit it on the head. If you put DK Metcalf with Aaron Rodgers, he goes from 1,300 yards to potentially 1,700 yards, right? So you got to think about scheme. You got to think about quarterback. There's so much to go into it. Hollywood Brown, he's in an offense that went for 3,000 yards rushing the last 2 years. So if you put him in a better situation, what could he possibly do? So I think there's a lot to it. But to your point and how you laid out what guy went where, I think you're dead on there. Like, if you can do it again in retrospect, I think the drafts the last couple years will be different.
Very different.
All right, again, for the 6th time under head coach Nick Saban, the Alabama Crimson Tide are your national champions. We are moving on to the NFL now. Add another name to the head coaching vacancies, the surprising firing of Doug Pederson. It's next. This is First Things First.
I've got an Alabama take coming up later.
What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
Eagles will be looking for a new head coach next season after a very rocky end to this season. Doug Pederson had been there 5 years. He delivered Philly their only Super Bowl, but in the end, he failed to navigate what became a very sticky situation with his quarterback Carson Wentz, and he failed to present a good enough case for the future of the franchise to Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie. Speaking of which, here he is. Take a listen.
My first allegiance is what will be best for the Philadelphia Eagles and our fans for the next 3, 4, 5 years. It's not based on does someone deserve to hold their job or deserve to get fired. That's a different bar. Very few people probably after success deserve to lose their job. This is much more about the evaluation of whether the Eagles moving forward, our best option is to have a new coach. And that's really, really what it's about. It's not about did Doug deserve to be let go? No, he did not deserve to be let go. That's not where I'm coming from, and that's not the bar in the evaluation process.
So, Brandon, when this came across the feed yesterday, I was in the middle of my day, and it absolutely stopped me in my tracks. I did not see this one coming at all. Yeah. Did this surprise you that the Eagles let Doug Pederson go?
Well, there's been some rumblings the last couple days, but definitely surprised me. I mean, things turned so quickly. And Nick, you're a history buff, man. You know sports really well. Answer this question for me. Tell me how many Super Bowls the Dallas Cowboys, the Patriots, and let's throw the Steelers in there. How many Super Bowls do they have?
Cowboys have 5. Steelers have 6. The Patriots, it depends on if you count the ones they cheated for or not. If you count all of them, it's 6. If not, then they only have 1 or 2. But those are the numbers. Like that helps. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, but think about what you just said. Doug Pederson led this team to their first Super Bowl 3 years ago without Carson Wentz.
Yep.
That's what this came down to. Is it the coach or the quarterback? And they chose the quarterback, and I think they're wrong. I know how hard it is to make a Super Bowl, let alone win one. I played 13 years in the National Football League with some really good organizations. The Denver Broncos, who won a Super Bowl recently. You throw in the Chicago Bears. You can throw in the New York Giants. You can throw in the Seattle Seahawks. And I've never made the playoffs. So for you to have a coach there that led you to a Super Bowl and won it, I think this is a big mistake, Wiles. I think this is a big mistake, Nick. You know, this is a situation where they could have got this right, and they got it wrong.
I do agree they chose Wentz over Pederson. I think that's a massive mistake. Even if I would have fired Pederson, I maybe would have chosen neither one of them. But there are a few things here. I'm going to go with what I consider the most important first, Wilds, and that is we officially have the worst sports statue ever. And it's the one outside of the link that was, by the way, if you look at that Philly statue, it says donated by Bud Light. Bud Light's awesome. Nothing against Bud Light. But if you want to put a statue, don't have a sponsor. Build your own damn statue. But now you have a quarterback who played like 4 more games for your team and a coach who was unceremoniously fired a few years later. That's in front of your stadium forever. So great job, and it goes on the list of don't build statue to living people. It never goes well. Wait until people are gone to build them a statue. That's the first point. Second point is this. Doug Pederson did a bad job the last 3 years. Oh, Nick, but he made the play. Listen, the year after they won the Super Bowl, that team was 6-7 and then won their final 3 to sneak in. Last year, this team was 5-7 and then won 4 divisional games against the decrepit NFC East to sneak in. And this year, they might have beaten the least accomplished group of quarterbacks to get to their 4 wins. Their 4 wins, and 4 wins is terrible, but their 4 wins came against Daniel Jones, Mullins, Taysom Hill, and DiNucci. So, like, I think Taysom Hill is, like, the second best quarterback they've beaten, and he's not even a quarterback. So, like you can't have 3 years of being bad at your job and keep your job, no matter how good you were early in your tenure. But, Wilds, if they're doing this so they can keep Wentz, it's a mistake. If you're doing this because you want to turn the page from everybody, fine. But I'm not going to cry tears for Doug Pederson about this one. I'm not.
Okay, this feels like it was coming ever since the tie game, when it's like, hey, why are you playing for a tie, buddy? It's about wins and losses. You know. Didn't you ever hear Herm Edwards says it's not? You played tie the game, and then Doug Pederson the next day is like, you know what? Went back and looked at it. Yeah, I should have taken a shot down the field rather than punt. My bad, guys. And then later on, he had that a few weeks later, he was like, hey, why is Carson regressing? He's like, progressing? No, he's not. Like, no, regressing. He's like, sorry, that was all odd. And then the Sudfeld thing was a disaster. And Brandon, we always talk about he lost the locker room. And you're like, wow, how he lost the locker room. What happened? Is there a little bit of turmoil? Is there just a little bit of, pockets? So you talk about pockets of guys. Nope. 2 defensive players had to be held back from Pederson. Not a good sign. Yeah. Not a good sign if I'm Jeffrey Lurie. Hey, here's a report here. Players trying to fight you. That doesn't seem great. So, Brandon, if you're a coach and you're looking at all these opportunities, you're looking at a team that has the second worst cap situation in the entire NFL. Feels like you're married to Carson Wentz, even if you're Eric Bieniemy. Like, you know what? I really like Jalen Hurts. Are you going to have the power to make that decision when they just got rid of Pederson? Yeah, you don't know who's going to be the quarterback, and I don't know if you're the coach. You get to decide. And then the whole Lurie quote about you don't deserve to be fired, but I fired you anyway. What are you, downsizing? You're still going to have a coach. It's just an odd quote overall.
Well, I'll say this. So I guess
the question to you, Brandon, is
I'll say this.
Is this a job a coach wants?
Well, I'll say this. I'll answer one question. I'll give a statement, then I'll throw it to Nick, our resident GM. So first, you got to look at this. The common denominator in this situation is Carson Wentz. I can't go past last year, but last year, when that team played well, Carson Wentz played well. When that team played bad, Carson Wentz played bad. One of the things that we're not talking about is who this guy is. What I'm hearing is that this guy in that locker room, he's not relatable. He's kind of standoffish. When he's on the field, he throws a bad ball or he make a mistake. It's everybody else's fault outside of his tight end. So this is a guy that is the common denominator in this team winning and losing when he's out there. So, Nick, I'll throw that question to you as far as if this is a good coaching vacancy or not, because I know you are a resident, GM.
Yeah. It's not a good vacancy. We can talk more about it later. There's 7 openings. Only Detroit is worse. Why is Detroit worse? Because it's Detroit. Nothing against the city, but the franchise, they never win. They don't know what they're doing. But, Philly, you're in a terrible cap situation. You don't have a quarterback, and there's going to be massive scrutiny. So, no, I think of all the openings, this is the second least attractive, Jenna. I think you're in a really rough spot.
I agree. You chose Carson Wentz over Doug Pederson. You don't even know if Carson Wentz is your guy. You still have more problems. Take a break. Coming up, why is Nick rooting against Baker? First time. That's next. First things first.
No, Baker can succeed. Baker can hang.
Hey, First Things First listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
Bad loss, but Browns are going to get clapped next week, so it's all good.
And with that, we start playing a little drawing a blank with rookie receiver Chase Claypool calling out a Browns team he just lost to. So, Brandon, Chase Claypool saying, quote, the Browns are going to get clapped next week against the Chiefs is blank.
Yeah, this is corny, Jenna. You just got smashed in your house by the Cleveland Browns, So when you go out there and make this statement, it shows why this team imploded. The immaturity. They're putting the wrong things first. So this is the team that came out that wanted to dance on the logos, that wanted to be the TikTok stars, and they didn't understand how to respect their opponents. So this is corny to me. I get it. Claypool played well in the game, but when you lose, all right, and on national TV in wild card weekend, you can't go out there and make this statement. Can't do it.
So I'm going to call it sad, but true. And it's sad for multiple reasons. It's sad from the Steelers' perspective because I'm going to take a step further, Brandon. To me, it gives you a little window into what that team really believed in themselves, even when they were 11-0. To me, it's sad because it indicates even 11-0, they knew they couldn't beat the Chiefs. Because if you think a team that just whooped you is going to get whooped, then what do you think was going to happen to you if you had played that team?
Oh, that's a good take.
It's also sad from the Browns' perspective because it is true. Cleveland, this is where our magical dance must end. We have had a wonderful relationship dating back to multiple NBA finals, shared in your city. Some of the best moments of my career were spent in Cleveland, talking to you, the wonderful people of that wonderful Rust Belt American town, Midwestern town.
You sound like Claypool.
But now, a far greater American town, my hometown, must end your magical ride. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be close, and it's not going to be enjoyable. Now, you will get to be able to say you lost to the champs. And so, yeah, absolutely. So, Wilds, it is sad, but it is true. No lies were spoken by Chase Claypool.
I love it. Okay, here's a take. I'm working on this take, but I think we just saw a historic moment of pettiness coming from Chase Claypool, but I think the Browns can use this as motivation. You always hear about people using the media, like no one believed in us motivation. And then you also have over here all of the trash talk. Like we saw a lot of trash talk coming back to life. Like Like, Lamar was mad that the Titans stomped on the logo. And the Baker was mad that Juju said they are just nameless gray faces.
Chase Young and
what was
Brady.
the other one? Oh, the Rams were mad that Jamal Adams was smoking a cigar, and then Jalen Ramsey's like, yeah, take your hats to Cabo. And they're like, I don't know, we got the hats for free. They hand them out to us. So here's the take. Historic moment from Chase Claypool. The first time in history that the Browns can use a former opponent's trash talk to look forward to the Chiefs. Historic moment in NFL history. You know what? Probably should be a small plaque in Canton for Chase Claypool if they end up winning.
It's a new avenue of trash talk. It's a good take, Wilds.
I had a take on that big chair, but your take was really good. I'm going to table mine. Get it? I'm going to table my chair
big
take.
gamer.
On to Green Bay. I don't like those big chairs. We'll save it for another day. They bother me. To Green Bay now, where Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are getting ready to host the Rams. Two-time Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald, dealing with a rib injury, but Sean McVay says ribs schmibs. He'll be good to go. So Brandon, going against Aaron Donald, should have Aaron Rodgers feeling blank.
Vigilant. Since coming into the NFL, this guy has led the league in sacks. This is the baddest man in the NFL. Howie Long talked about him this week, and he said, you know what? He can go down as the greatest defensive tackle that this game has ever seen. I will challenge Howie Long to not even to be the best defensive lineman, but the greatest defensive player this game has ever seen. If he keeps this up for another 6 to 10 years, it is a wrap. This is the baddest boy that we have seen in a very, very long time.
Well, Brandon, those are great takes. I do have bad news for you. Your fellow Floridian Deion Sanders just canceled his House of Athlete subscription. Sorry, he's out. He said, oh, really? Greatest defensive player ever? Like, I'm not right here? So yes. Lawrence Taylor also. He's just driving in his car, listening to us on Sirius XM. And he's like, Let me hear.
Nick, really quick. This is why he's so dominant. He doesn't need to have a sack to dominate the game because you have to double team this guy, triple team this guy, and he's going to leave one-on-one for everybody else. That's why he's so dominant.
100% right. And by the way, the biggest loser in the Aaron Donald the last 5 years actually is J.J. Watt. Because J.J. Watt had a 3-year run that people were like, this is the greatest we've ever seen. And it's like, you know what? You're the second best D lineman of your own decade. Zip it, J.J. We're all Aaron Donald fans now. But the answer is legitimate fear. Like, sometimes you're like, oh, my God, Giannis and Durant are going to go head-to-head. Nobody's actually afraid there. It's like Mahomes versus Rodgers potentially in the Super Bowl. There's no fear there. It's just you're trying to beat another great player. Wilds, this should be legitimate fear because Aaron Donald shows you he shows no mercy. He played Alex Smith in Alex Smith's first career start after his leg, he almost lost his leg. He didn't just sack Alex Smith, and I should have told our guys to pull the video. He literally jumped on his back, seemingly the most dangerous thing you could do to a man who shattered his ankle. You know why? Because Aaron Donald does not care. He has one job to do, and it's to crush the opposing quarterback, so it's legitimate fear, Wilds.
Yeah, it's also like this. One of the saddest moments of the year was when Tua played Aaron Donald. It's like, man, Aaron Donald doesn't talk to me. I don't think he likes me. He's like, what are you talking about? We're in the NFL, buddy. Like, oh, yeah, he's trying to hurt you. Hey, game tape. Rams just need to watch what the Bucks did to Aaron Rodgers. We can throw off his grab. Like, horrific game from Aaron Rodgers. Tried to get a meme, didn't work, ended up playing terribly. So I think that if the Rams are going to win, they can just follow this blueprint to perfection, and then it's like, adios, Aaron Rodgers.
There you go.
All right, moving on to Houston, where the Deshaun Watson saga continues to unfold. A report says Deshaun would be open to a trade to the Dolphins that likely would send Tua packing for Houston. Tua's like, wait, what? Wait, what? Brandon, a Deshaun Watson Tua Tagovailoa trade would be blank.
Yeah, this word comes from Scotland, Ireland. New word alert. It means the gift or a new beginning. Hansel. Look, this is inevitable. This has to happen, whether it's with the Dolphins or if it's with my Jets. He has to get out of there. this organization has shown that they don't respect him, they don't value him. And then all the rumblings is this is about the social injustices and how they approach it and how they have not done their part. They didn't interview Eric Bieniemy. This is a black quarterback. This is a guy that's standing up in March in the middle of a global pandemic, and you don't do your part as an organization. I don't think that Deshaun Watson ever put on a Texans jersey again.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if I think it's going to happen, but if it were to happen, Brandon, it would be what everyone deserves, for good and for bad. It would be what the Texans deserve because they are the worst run franchise in the NFL. They've got a former Patriots team chaplain whispering in everybody's ear, somehow pulling the strings like he's Don Corleone, as opposed to a guy who just inflates his LinkedIn resume and keeps rising up organizational depth charts. So they don't deserve Deshaun Watson. Deshaun deserves to play for an awesome team. And the Dolphins with him would be awesome. Brian Flores, who's been exceptional, deserves to have a top 5 quarterback. And my guy Tua deserves to go somewhere where there wouldn't, after a half season starting, already be rumblings, are you the guy of the future? Get a fresh start. So everyone would get what they deserve here. I hope this happens. And nothing would be the greater capstone, Wilds, to the Bill O'Brien reign of terror than if you had to trade Deshaun Watson to Miami to get your own draft pick back from Miami because he gave it to him along with other stuff for Laramie Tunsil.
I like that. I still like Deshaun to the Jets, but I think this is pretty damaging to Tua. Tua's growth here, his trajectory went from, hey, should we give him Marino's number to like, should he start? He should start. Well, let's take Fitzmagic out. Or maybe put Fitzmagic in once. Maybe put Fitzmagic in twice. Maybe we draft a quarterback. Maybe we trade for Deshaun Watson. He's got to be sitting there like, guys, killing me here. What happened to the Marino number talk? I should have pushed harder for that. I thought it was the franchise guy. So I think maybe Nick's right. A fresh start in Houston might be all right. Although he's still got the chaplain.
All right, moving on. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers hosting I don't know who and the Rams in Saturday's NFC divisional round. Even Sean McVay isn't certain who his quarterback's going to be. We'll discuss. It's next. It's First Things First.
Wolf.
Rams at Packers this weekend. It'll be Aaron Rodgers versus question mark in this one. Sean McVay refusing to name a starter yesterday, saying last week's starter John Wolford is day-to-day with a stinger.
Let's go.
Jared Goff and his hobbled thumb remain ready to go if necessary. Brendan, how should Jared Goff feel about Sean McVay not naming a starting quarterback here?
Yeah, well, I think he came out and said it to someone where he didn't like that, coach didn't make the decision to go his way when he felt like he was capable of going out there and playing the last game. And I would say this to Jared Goff, be grateful. Be thankful that you have another opportunity, because the talk around the NFL, the talk around on every show is that who makes you is that coach. That coach is in your ear going down to the 10 seconds telling you where to go with the ball. Here's what's happening. This is what you got in front of you. Go to X. If the X isn't there, drop it down to the wire, to the running back. So when you have that narrative around you and your career and you play the way you played, throwing the ball to the other team at the rate that you're doing it, then you should be thankful that you can go in there and possibly be the hero. You have the best defense in the National Football League right now, who Wilds like and picked to go to the Super Bowl. Don't know why he did it, but right now he's looking good. So you have that going for you. Go out there and prove to everybody that you're capable of being a starting quarterback in this league. Because right now, before this moment, you were trending towards being a backup. So I would say to Jared Goff, be thankful, go out there and have fun and play your game.
Folks, people got upset with me when the Wolford thing, when Goff got, Tiny Hands had the surgery, and I said on the show, I don't know what McVay's sad about that. People were like, oh, how can you say that? I can say it because Sean McVay keeps telling us, guys, they're like, oh, Jared Goff can't start the wild card game because of his hand surgery. That's a lie. I shouldn't call someone a liar. I'm not calling him a liar, but that was a lie. You know how I know? Because Goff was able to play. You know how I also know? Because they didn't activate a third healthy quarterback. You know how I also know? Because they called a quarterback sneak where he led with broken tiny hands. So he's not worried about Goff. Listen, folks, Sean McVay knows the biggest impediment to the Rams winning a Super Bowl is Jared Goff. Something happened, and there's a line of demarcation. 27 games, first 27 games under McVay. Goff had a 105 rating and 21 wins, 6 losses. That 27th game was that epic, unforgettable Monday Night Football duel against Mahomes. Remember that game was like 54-51 final, something like that? Since then, he's 23-16. His rating is 85. He has turned the ball over 49 times in the, how many games is that? 39 games since then. He has more turnovers than any quarterback in the league over the last 3 seasons. He's not good. And McVay knows he's not good, so much so that he's like, hey, Wolford, maybe you can play for us because I just need you to not have 3 turnovers and we'll have a shot because the defense is so good.
That's right.
I don't understand, Wilds, the entitlement level of, and I know I sound like an old man, but of these quarterbacks that are like, oh my God, you want me to compete for my job and play well? You're not just giving it to me? They gave you the money. You haven't earned it. You're not good. What's the issue? I don't understand. We know what the issue with Goff is. He's not good. That's the issue. It's a simple one.
No, okay. I picked the Rams, so now I'm going to ride with Goff. I personally like Wolford. Brandon, do you think there's anything to this idea that McVay is out there playing chess and refuses to name a starter to get in the Packers' head with the idea that the Wolfman Wolford likes to run a little bit more, ended up getting him hurt last game? So that actually is going to be an effective kind of strategy to trick the Packers?
No, I think Sean McVay truly believes that Wolford gives them the best opportunity to win. Think about it. They have the #1 defense. Go back to 2018, I believe, when they went to the Super Bowl. What was that recipe? What was that formula? They played really good defense. They got to the quarterback, and they also ran the ball. That's what they're doing right now. So when you think about this quarterback battle, you put in a quarterback that's not going to turn it over. Nick is right. So you put Goff in there, you don't know if he's going to throw 2-3 picks. And some of these picks are just like, what are you thinking? You know, it's not like they're tip balls. They're not like they're, a receiver fall at the top. These are picks where he's scrambling and he throws it across his body, backside to the other side of the field, and there's no receiver around. So this is what he's been doing. So if I'm Sean McVay, I'm absolutely going with Wolford.
And poor colleague of ours, Troy Aikman, he keeps drawing these Rams games to broadcast, and every game Goff throws a ball, and he's like, Joe, I wish I could tell you, I don't know what he was looking at there. Like, Troy is such a nice guy and tries to be so positive, and Goff just saps the love of football from him. Like, here's an honest question, Wilds. Honest question. If this were allowed, if Sean McVay were allowed right now this week to sign Heineke and be the quarterback the rest of the way, do you think he would do that? I think he saw Heineke play 4 quarters and say, you know what? With my defense, I can win a Super Bowl with that guy. Like, with that guy, if he can play that level, I will take him. I will take him sight unseen for the rest of the playoffs.
No, this side of the panel, we're Wolford fans, Wolfpack, me and Jenna.
Yes, so, no, last name, last initial, all of it. Also, Nick, to your point, they're paying these guys too early. They might have made a mistake with Jared Goff.
They're paying him way too early.
Take a turn, head to Philly, where the Eagles have fired Doug Pederson, and in the process may have kept another guy they may have paid too early. I don't know, Carson Wentz. Our Philly guy, Brian Westbrook, and his little guy, Little Brian, join the conversation next. His son is a better way to put it.
Is Little Brian actually going to be on?
Saturday on Fox, the Rams take on the Seahawks. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern. Then on Sunday, Tom Brady and the Bucs squaring off with Drew Brees and the Saints at 6 Eastern. The NFL divisional playoffs are here, presented by TurboTax Live, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Time now for Stories to Start Your Morning, brought to you by Subway. We're talking about the national championship game, Alabama and Ohio State, and the best team is still the best team. Nick Saban's Alabama Crimson Tide back on top. His quarterback, Mac Jones. What a game. 5 touchdowns, including 3 to the Heisman winner, DeVonta Smith, who was unguardable until leaving with a hand injury. So why don't we start there, since his next stop is going to be the NFL. Brandon, you're a receiver. He's a receiver. Is DeVonta a can't-miss NFL star?
Brandon?
Brandon
I think
has
we
been
lost Brandon
so
for a
shell-shocked
moment.
by how well DeVonta played.
No.
I'm going to send it to you, Nick.
So,
Go ahead. He's like,
I think we
played
lost
so
Brandon
well,
for a moment. So here's the fact of the matter, Wilds. He profiles as well as any receiver possibly can profile. And if you didn't watch the game last night, he did all of that in the first half of the national championship game. And he did last year. He had 1,200 yards despite being the 4th receiver on the depth chart, arguably, because they had Judy, they had Ruggs, they had Waddle. Judy and Ruggs go in the first round. This year, he's supposed to be behind Waddle. And then as soon as Waddle gets hurt, he explodes and wins the damn Heisman. So I think he's awesome. And the last thing I'm going to do is come on TV this morning and be like, here's why DeVonta Smith won't work out. But here is my concern with receivers right now. There's a bit, the knock on running backs, as far as how and where you draft them, seems to be a little misplaced. And I wonder if that's not more apropos right now to receivers. And by that, I mean the receivers that have gone the highest in the draft over the last few years are not the receivers that have had the most success. A few years ago, you had 3 go in the top 10. John Ross, Mike Williams, Corey Davis. Those aren't the guys. The guys from that draft class are, who was it? Was it Godwin, I think, was in that draft class? McLaurin, or Godwin and Galladay, pardon me. McLaurin was a couple years ago. McLaurin goes after N'Keal Harry, and A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf go 2nd round. Last year, Justin Jefferson goes later in the draft after guys that I don't think anyone would say right now should have gone ahead of him. So my concern would be, if you're a team drafting a wide receiver, it's like, yes, this guy is can't miss, as can't miss as a receiver can be, Wilds. But are we going to be able to get a guy who's 90% as good midway through the 2nd round, the way at least the recent draft history has been? You're back, Brandon.
Okay, I think I hear Brandon is back, and he's animated. Considering you were frozen last time. It was like a scene from Star Wars, so now you're back.
I said you were shell-shocked at how well DeVonta played.
I'll answer Nick's question and throw it to you, Brandon. The question I have is this, Nick, because you made some good points. Is he good enough to save one of these quarterbacks? And save is a tough word, but it's reasonable for some of these guys. So here's the draft order. Jacksonville, they're going to draft Trevor Lawrence, so they're out. Now you got the Jets. Is he good enough to turn Sam Darnold into a better quarterback? Is this like, does Sam Darnold have enough weapons? Is that a reasonable take? Okay, so you got him. Dolphins, you got Tua. We saw Fitz magic work. You got Devontae Parker. Does Tua need another weapon? Okay, Falcons, me and Arthur Blank don't know what's going on there. Then you've got Burrow. We know that would be a home run. And then, coming in at number 6, the Philadelphia Eagles. If he's around, maybe this whole idea of fixing Carson Wentz.
If he's around, they'll take him.
It's not about, maybe it's the offensive line, but maybe it's like, now you just have a grade A weapon. Come in and be like, I fixed Carson Wentz. Like, what'd you do? Well, drafted the Heisman winner. Not too hard. OKW. You know what? Throw my hat in the ring right now. Oh, that might be the Eagles coach. Give me a shout.
KW.
So, Brandon,
sure.
Where do you want him to go? Where do you think he'd be the most successful?
Look, this kid can go anywhere and be successful. And to answer your question, he absolutely can make a quarterback better. When you have the ability that he has, just throw it out to him and he'll make you look good. But you got to throw him the ball. You got to make sure he's a priority. And that's any wide receiver with this type of ability. So look at this thing. Last year, there was 2 wide receivers in front of him that went 1st round. Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy. And this kid still had 1,200 yards, Nick. This year, coming into the season, Waddle was the guy, not him. Waddle goes down with the ankle, and then he emerges and takes this to a whole nother level and becomes the Heisman winner. This dude is the real deal. You know who he reminds me of? A couple wide receivers, just a couple guys from the old days and the new day. Let's look at it. Let me break this down for you. You know, you got Torrey Holt. Torrey Holt's savviness, one of the greatest route runners that the league has ever seen, and super savvy. Chad Ochocinco's route running ability. Chad Ochocinco did some unorthodox things with his feet and just how he was able to get in and out of his breaks. Stephon Diggs, super explosive, one of the greatest guys I've seen in short spaces, being able to stop and start, being able to get out of his breaks. This dude is the real deal. And Devontae Adams' playmaking ability. So this kid can absolutely get it done while he can make any quarterback great. And I would love for him. Ooh, I don't even know. I can't even go. I don't even want to throw him in a bad situation. I want to see him with a good quarterback. I want to see him with somebody like, Deshaun Watson, maybe in Miami. Ooh. Something like that.
So I like how Brandon's already got Deshaun playing for Miami, which I think would be awesome. So
I really want him with the Jets. I really want him with the Jets.
I know you want him with the Jets, but you also want Justin Fields with the Jets. You also want to go back to the Jets. You also want the Jets to consider actually getting good players. A lot of stuff you want for the Jets. But when we lost you for a second, I understand you were a mid-round pick, right? And so we've known for a long time you can find steals in the middle of the draft. But the recent history at this position is you are more likely to find the star receiver after pick 30 than before pick 30. And so I just do wonder if you think teams are going to be hesitant to spend top 10 picks on a guy even like DeVonta Smith when it seems like there's such great depth at the position league-wide and in the draft.
Yeah, but this is a pass-happy league. You need guys that can do everything. You need guys that can run routes, and you need guys like this who have the humility. Because one of the things that we talked about earlier was mindset and mental fitness. Can you come in and be that star and not just hold your team back with your emotions and your attitude?
Right.
Well, once again, a big congratulations to DeVonta Smith and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Much more on this coming up next on Undisputed. That's it for us. We're back here tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everyone.